Hey, I'm Jamie, and I'm your afterlife expert. Not because the afterlife is in my backyard, but because that was the best place for me to tell you about this story. I figured as the sun was going down, the birds were chirping, it'd be a good thing to tell you about death and what happens after death. Anyway, here's the interesting part. When you die, you're dead. What happens after death? See, the Jews believed in this really cool concept called the afterlife, and it was like broken up into two spots, two different places, if you will. One was Sheol, later known by the Greeks as Hades, and then the other place was Abram's bosom. See, so if you died and you were a righteous person, you would go to Abram's bosom. Or if you were an unrighteous person, if you didn't, Daddy's out here filming a video.
Yeah, that's only for you.
Well, Ethan decided to join me. He's supposed to be in bed. Say hi.
Hi.
You gotta poke your head in here. They can't see you.
Hi.
A little closer.
Hi.
Okay, get out. All right. That being said, you have Abram's bosom, which is the good side, and Sheol being the bad side. So, all of the people who had died before Jesus were waiting in a place for this Messiah figure who would free them from the bonds of death, of the underworld. And so, really, you have this picture of millions of people, guys like Moses, guys like David, guys like Adam, who were waiting there for Jesus to come and set them free from death. Then, you've got this other side, which is Hades, known to the Greeks, or Sheol for the Hebrews. And this is a place where there's some form of torment, but it's not necessarily the fiery lakes and whatnot that we know of, with a guy with a forks that he's going to stick in a guy or whatever. But clearly there's this chasm between the righteous and the unrighteous. And my son, Ethan. That being said, Jesus comes on the scene, and what he does is he tells people both on the righteous side and on the unrighteous side that he is there to set them free from death, hell, and the grave. So, Jesus goes to the cross, he dies, and then this thing in the temple, this curtain, if you will, was ripped in between two, so that now there is this sort of liberation, if you will. People come from Abram's bosom, who had already been righteous, and they are automatically assumed into heaven that we know of currently today. But then there's these people who are the unrighteous, the really bad, dirtbaggy kind of people, the Hitlers of the Old Testament. Well, what do you do with them? Jesus came and actually proclaimed the gospel to the people who had not received him before. Crazy. The fact that you died and you still had a second chance is kind of, some people would even call that like purgatory. But anyway, that being said, so Jesus comes on the scene. He sets the people free. Now, if they still rejected him, even in their death, they would stay in hell, the place that we now know as hell. Fire, craziness. So what happens today, 21st century, after Jesus has come, and now he reigns in heaven with God? What do? Do you just die and go right to heaven or right to hell? Kind of crazy. Well, there are some who say that actually, when you die now, that you will wait until the end of the earth, that you will be here for the 1,000-year reign, and then, and only then, will you go to heaven or finally to your final resting place in hell. The prevailing theory, though, is that once you die in the New Testament era, that you pretty much go right to heaven or right to hell. Mostly for the reason that people enter into a timeless space continuum after you die in this period. So, pretty much you got to decide, do I want to go to heaven or hell, and then how am I going to get there? Am I going to do it on my own, or am I going to use somebody like Jesus to get me there? All accounts, doing it on your own doesn't work out so well. Anyway, Jamie, your afterlife expert, here to tell you about death, hell, and the grave, and Ethan, who is watching. And next week, we're going to talk about whether or not Ethan gets to go to heaven or hell.
No.
Have a good day!